This video is sponsored by Surfshark.
Hi everyone, Thao here. So I came across an interesting survey the other day. Apparently, 87% of US teens have an iPhone. They surveyed exactly 10,000 teens in 44 US states with an average income of $68,000. Now, 10,000 isn't like a massive number, so you can take that 87% however you want. But to me, that still shows how strong the Apple brand is amongst the next generation. I've been using the iPhone 13 Pro on and off since it came out, so that's like what? 3 to 4 months ago. During that time, I've also tested both of Samsung's latest foldable phones and the new Pixels from Google. Just keeping it real, I'm more of an Android kind of girl, but I can't deny just how solid the iPhone is and completely understand why so many people love it. It's such a well-built phone and you notice it the moment you pick it up. It might not be as exciting as a foldable from Samsung or as unique as a Pixel 6 Pro, but I really love how this phone looks. It's very similar to last year's model, and that's okay because this throwback flat edge design is one of my favorites of all time. It looks premium, almost like a piece of jewelry, but isn't over the top as we've come to expect from Apple. Is it perfect? No, of course not. There's little things I don't love about it, but it lives in a case, so not a big deal. On the front, they shrunk the notch ever so slightly. The notch is a little intrusive, but it stands out and is essentially part of the iPhone's identity at this point. When you see that forehead, you know it's an iPhone. One of the biggest reasons to go for the Pro models is the addition of Pro Motion, which is Apple's fancy way of saying that it has a variable refresh rate of up to 120 Hz. Basically, it leads to smoother scrolling when you're interacting with a phone and better battery savings when you're not. Once you get used to a phone with a higher refresh rate, going back to a 60 Hz phone can be a little tough on the eyes. So I always tell people it's a nice feature to have, but it's not life-changing or anything. Overall, this is a really good display that's plenty bright with super accurate colors. Yeah, I just love how Apple calibrates their screens. The speakers are also great. I actually mentioned this in a previous video, but between these three phones, the iPhone 13 Pro they're all really close, but the iPhone speakers have amazing clarity and just sound more full. When it comes to biometrics, Face ID is my second favorite option behind the side-mounted fingerprint scanner that Samsung is using on their foldables. Now, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, so anyone using a newer iPhone understands just how inconvenient it is to not have a second biometric option. Apple, come on. Hook us up with a fingerprint scanner. I will admit, I'm not using my phone as much as I used to. You know, your girl's trying to cut back for that mental health, while everyone's out here bragging about being on their phones for like 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm trying to limit myself to like 4 hours or less. This is easily a full day battery, but if you don't use it that much, you can probably stretch it to a second day. Coming from other Android flagship phones, where the iPhone stands out is how little the battery drains when not in use. This phone drains like 1 to 2% overnight compared to the 6 to 8% I lose on my Z Fold 3 or 3 to 4% nightly on the Pixel 6 Pro. I'm not gonna dwell on the cameras too long because let's be real, it's hard to find a flagship that isn't taking nice pictures nowadays. The 13 Pro takes amazing pictures, and I think most will be more than happy with the camera upgrades this year. With that being said, personally, I don't like what the iPhone does with my skin tone when taking pictures indoors. It just looks really weird to me. I've also always found iPhone pics to be a little too warm for my taste, so I really appreciate that they've added this new photographic styles feature. It lets you select from different presets that'll automatically apply to any pictures you take. The cool setting helps to counterbalance that overly warm look. Now, Apple focused a lot on the cinematic video mode, which simulates natural bokeh from professional cameras. I think it's a lot of fun, but honestly, I don't really use it. Marketing for every phone needs a wow feature, and I guess this is it. Now that we've got my general thoughts of the phone itself out of the way, I wanted to talk about my experience from an Android perspective. If you like all your products working together in a seamless ecosystem, yeah, I don't think anyone does it better than Apple. From MacBook, iPad, iPhone to Apple Watch and AirPods, That product ecosystem makes it so appealing to go all in on Apple products. A common question I get is, how do I switch between phones all the time? Isn't it annoying? Truthfully, it is. If I wasn't reviewing phones, I would probably only upgrade every 2 to 3 years. The trick to making the process less painful is to not use an app or service that is only available on a certain device or platform. Once you do that, you're pretty much sucked into the ecosystem. And let's be real, once people get used to something, they tend to stick with it. For example, I don't use the built-in password manager on any phone. I use Bitwarden, which is available on every platform. So when I switch between iOS or Android, I can still access all my passwords. The counter argument is that I'm not using the device to its full potential, which is true, but I'm okay with that. Now, an app that is available on every platform that you should definitely check out is from today's video sponsor, Surfshark VPN. So what Surfshark does is that it encrypts all your data before it goes over the internet. So people you don't want having access to your personal information won't have access to it. Especially dangerous when using sketchy public Wi-Fi. Did you know, depending on where you are, you might not have access to certain content? One of my favorite uses for Surfshark is to access shows from other countries. With one click, I can check out the Netflix library from any country, even though I'm located in Canada. There's also no limit to the number of devices you can connect at a time, so your whole family can enjoy as well. Check out Surfshark now by clicking the link below and using my promo code Thao. You'll get 83% off and 3 months completely free. So I use a Mac Mini as my main video editing computer, and the one feature I use all the time on my iPhones is AirDrop because it works so freaking well. Google Photos and Google Drive work perfectly fine for transferring stuff, but as a content creator, it's so convenient being able to AirDrop clips recorded on my phone over to the computer, then, doing a quick edit and then AirDrop it back to my phone for posting on social media or whatever. So I just learned that iMessage peer pressure is a real thing and that it's a big deal for a lot of people, especially teens. But yeah, I don't really get it. It's not really a draw for me, my family, or friends. If someone doesn't want to chat with me because I'm not on iMessage, then okay. I don't really want to talk to someone like that anyways. Whenever I switch to iPhones, there's always a few things that I miss from Android phones. Let's talk about a few of them. The lack of a universal back gesture. On Android, you can go back to the previous screen from anywhere with the edge swipe. On iOS, there's a swipe from the left side that sort of does the same thing, but it doesn't work 100% of the time. You still need to hit a back arrow or X button occasionally, which throws me off. Siri, instead of having quick access to Google Assistant. I actually think Siri isn't half that bad, but she's no Google Assistant. Especially when you consider all the extra cool stuff you can do on Pixel phones like call screening. Have you tried it? It's freaking amazing. On iOS, accessing settings for individual apps is done through the Settings app instead of inside the actual app. For example, if you want to change a camera setting, you need to open the Settings app, then scroll down to Camera. It's just really tedious and way more convenient on Android. The app library just boggles my mind. It's just not as helpful as the fully customizable app drawers on Galaxies. You can't do folders on Pixels, but at least it's organized by alphabetical order. Like, why can't we organize where apps go and create our own folders instead of having these pre-made categories? But I get it. That's just how Apple rolls. Lack of a USB-C port means I need to place an extra lightning cable at all my charging stations around the house. Heck, even the iPad Pro is USB-C now, so I'd love to see the iPhone make that switch too. So in general, slap phones like this don't change all that much every year. I mean, once they get rid of this notch, what else can they do to it? If you're looking for something more exciting, I think there are definitely some other interesting options out there. But if you're in the Apple ecosystem and reliability is what you're after, you can't go wrong here. On its own, the iPhone itself isn't all that exciting. But we all know Apple is at its best when you go all in on their products. This really does nail the basics of a smartphone though. It's fast, easy to use, will get updates for 5 to 6 years, has great cameras and really good battery life. It's fairly expensive and not a huge upgrade over last year. But I mean, what more would you want from a phone? As usual, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out of here.